In this video, I'm going to talk about style guides. Style guides provide standards for writing when there's more than one choice. A comprehensive set of guidelines for writers to follow to ensure their work is easily understood by their target audience and to minimize any potential confusion or misinterpretation. The overriding goal of any style guide is consistency, assuring that everyone who writes uniformly adheres to the specific guidelines about many common categories like units of measurement. There are rules for using metric or imperial, for abbreviating, for capitalizing. Style guides also often talk about numbers and dates, how to present numbers, dates, other numerical information. Write out numbers, when do you do that? When do you use digits? How many? How do you punctuate or format? What do you do with decimals and fractions? Another area, abbreviations and acronyms. Style guides often provide rules for using them. This includes when to use an abbreviation and an acronym, how to introduce them, how to punctuate them, whether to capitalize them, etc. Style guides often talk about spelling and punctuation. They help you know when to hyphenate words, how to form compound words, how to handle prefixes, suffixes. They also help writers navigate regional or other differences by providing guidance on which variations of language, spelling, and punctuation are appropriate. Style guides also guidance on using language that's sensitive to issues of gender, race, ethnicity, disability, other forms of diversity. Company style guides can help writers achieve consistent brand voice, whether that's formal, casual, or somewhere in between. Style guides often provide guidelines on how to structure and arrange content, such as using headings and subheadings, bullet points, numbered lists, how to incorporate those elements into messages. That includes formatting and labeling. Style guides do sometimes provide specific rules for citing and attributing sources, like formatting in-text citations and footnotes and bibliographies. You may be wondering, how many style guides are there? Well, there are many, many of them, even just those focused on writing in English. The ones people think of first are usually used by publishers, like the list here. There are many non-publishers who also produce style guides. You may be familiar with one or more of the style guides shown here. Maybe you were required to use one of them in school or at work. The AP Style Book is used by American journalists. The Chicago Manual of Style is used by nearly all North American publishers. The Microsoft Writing Style Guide is used by Microsoft, obviously, and also some other technology firms. S1000D is called an actual standard rather than a style guide. It's used worldwide in aviation and aerospace and in some other industries. All of them establish the standards that writers should follow. And contrary to what some might assume, the standards that appear in a style guide were not handed down from the gods. Style guides are living documents that are updated regularly. This quote in the Chicago Manual of Style makes that clear. Style guides are established by the people involved in creating, producing, and distributing content. That has very important implications. The fact that there are so many different style guides means there are many different standards, often for the same writing practice. For example, CMOS and AP have slightly different standards for using a serial comma. In CMOS, it's always used, so both example 1 and example 2 include a comma before and. In AP, however, a serial comma isn't used in a simple series. So example 2 is the same as in CMOS, but example 1 has no comma before and. The point here is all editors need to know what serial commas are, but they have to know which style guide is relevant in order to know whether a serial comma is required. S1000D has two broad rules. The first is called a controlled vocabulary. When words have synonyms, S1000D prefers the simplest word. Instead of allowing writers to choose among begin, commence, and originate or other synonyms, S1000D requires the most unequivocal and simple verb, start. No synonyms are allowed. The S1000D dictionary contains something around 1,500 accepted words. Controlled vocabulary not only ensures greater clarity, it lowers translation costs because translating a single word is cheaper than translating 4 different words that mean the same thing. A style guide is just that, a guide for the standard style for communicating within a specific rhetorical context. What's a standard for one audience and purpose is not going to be standard for a different audience and purpose. Wearing formal clothes to a job interview is a standard style, but wearing the same clothes to go bowling is not. As I said a few minutes ago, style guides are created and maintained by groups of people involved in creating, producing, and distributing content. These groups create different types of content for different purposes and audiences. Here are a few more examples of how style guides differ. First, both CMOS and Microsoft's guide, MWSG here, allows authors to use well-known acronyms or other abbreviations without spelling them out the first time in some cases. That's where the acronym is considered equivalent to a word. But CMOS refers to Webster's Dictionary, and MWSG refers to American Heritage's. So they determine which acronyms are in their list differently. By the way, any complete style guide will state what source they reference for standards like spelling, because not all dictionaries are the same either. You now know that there are a multitude of guides for different types of content in different contexts. That means there's no single correct style for anything. This is difficult for many to accept, so let me say it one more time. There are correct standards for following a specific guide, but there is no single correct writing style. Writing is a form of communication, at least after you leave school. Correctness, if it applies at all, can only be judged within your specific context. Usually, writers have to strive for appropriateness instead.